Hello and welcome to Autocar Dialogues presented by Reliance General Insurance. Now, every year during the Autocar Awards, we like to have key insights into the automotive industry. And these are from people who are not necessarily always in the limelight, but they're people who are the key connect between the consumer and the manufacturer. We're talking about dealers, and a lot has changed in the last few years. We're talking about today service at home. Is this the new viable sector? And we have an eminent panel of dealers with us. Let me introduce them to you. We have Mr. Samkit Jitendra Shah, who's the director of Jitendra Group. We have Mr. Rahul Pagaria, managing director, Pagaria Group. We have Mr. Shivam Garg, who's the director of BK Auto. And we have Mr. Shivesh Narain, who's the joint managing director and CEO of Carlo Automobiles. Thank you so much for being with us here today. A lot has changed. I think the entire scenario in the world in the last few years has made dealers rethink the way they approach things. I think the fact that there's so many shortages, that there's no more discounting in general, has actually made the service experience so much more important to the consumer. So what has really changed for you all, and how have you all approached these changes? I'll throw it open to you first.
Okay, so recently COVID taught us to think on different way, because lots of supply issue is there, but we have to satisfy our customer anyhow. We have to fulfill their all the demands. Like if they want a car to test drive at their home, we should send a vehicle at their home, or anything. Their demands just we have to fulfill, because satisfaction is the only to hold the customer. So we are doing that way only.
Yeah, and has this really changed? I mean, like, one part of it is the test drive at home, but now people are even expecting service at home. So has service at home become a big thing for you all? Has that changed, and have you all had to start offering it?
Yeah, so I think by and large service at home, it's a convenience. So one cannot deny after this 2 years of disruption. So, if the same is with shopping, online shopping and all that, the convenience for a customer has become very, very important. And during the COVID times when he could not really go out and all that, so that was a time when it was very, very essential to keep your service business running. You had to have something where you could go and be actively engaged with the customers. And today it's a need. It's by and large, it's not. I would say it's a demand, and it's a need right now, that you have to give it a doorstep service to the consumer. And pickups and drops have always been there. But today now service on wheels is been reinventing in a very, very big manner. And I foresee that it would it is going to be the scheme of things to come.
Yeah, do you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
And when you say service on wheels, how many things can you really do at a consumer's home? How much part of the service can be done at home, and how much part of the service does the consumer really still have to come back to the showroom for?
I think the periodic services, what we're talking, the main paid services and the free services, that is the routine services that can be actually done at home. But the major specific job work which is required, that could be overhauling work, that is not possible at home, since you need a dust-free environment to actually be doing that. And body shop is one thing that customer will have to come to the body shop to get his car done. The service aspect opens up a scenario where we can actually go to the customer's home and reach out in a way where the customer cannot give his time to get his car at the workshop, but instead it is our duty to reach out to the customer. Since the market has also become very competitive, there are startups that have come up in the market. Auto Bricks is one, Pit Stop is one. So these guys are doing amazingly well, and being Maruti dealers, we have got a huge network that we have to cater to. So it's become a fundamental responsibility more than anything else.
Apart from this running repair services we can do, or value-added service like coating and everything we can do at a customer home. So even now, recent days or last 2-3 years, dry wash, eco wash is there. So we can do that customer house. So customer feel the wow factor what we are offering them, and that will help the customer habitual to a dealership.
So do you think that this, because of scare of the pandemic, do you think customers are now actually going more for these eco washes and sanitization, which may not, they may have eliminated it earlier, saying this is unnecessary expense. But do you think that that is now becoming more strong and that customer is now wanting more of these services?
Yes, of course, the expectation of these kind of services have gone up. But I'll tell you one thing, like in rural areas where the workshop is far from the city, where the potential is high, these services were going before the COVID also. Okay. But it has gone up now. We used to take appointments like it is almost 50 kilometers, 60 kilometers away from the sales, and there is no service station. So we take an appointment, we go there, collect all the customers together, and then the service of those vehicles are being done. But during COVID, I'll tell you my experience, like we got a special approval from the government, and just for the sake of ambulance, we were open during the lockdown also, and we worked with a 50% capacity so that that car is not being, stopped.
Okay.
So we were there, we were working full time, yes, and we were working on mobile also during those times.
So that's interesting to know. And do you think so? I mean, do you think that this will now become actually more important than roadside assistance? Because roadside assistance, is something that customers are used to.
Roadside is for emergency services, but this doorstep services are more like convenience to the customer. So it's like a railway track, it's go parallelly. If the customer, it's depending upon the emergency situation, anyhow more important on the roadside assistance. But if it is a convenience, then definitely doorstep service are
they would both coexist. So you would have roadside, so it's by and large it's 100% has to be there. And service at home will essentially be very, very important going ahead. Every consumer tomorrow would demand, because everybody is so pressed on time. So now it's gone are the days when somebody would go to a workshop, he would make a job card, and then you would anything. All the process is now digitized. Whether your job card opening, whether all things which you record on, now you have voice assisted, complaint registration. So I think everything is digitized. So the only last lap was when you go to a consumer home and get the vehicle. So that also, with all the tracking system which available, a consumer can track where's the driver, how's the car. He can give an immediate feedback on that. So this entire ecosystem would change for sure, and it's a demand of a consumer will remain. So if you want to exist in this industry, you would have to give it a seamless experience to a consumer.
So interesting, because he's talking about digitization, and that is something new. So in addition to your showroom, in addition to all the things that you now have this process of digitization and addressing a whole different way of interacting with the consumer. It's an added expense. How difficult has it been? How challenging has it been? Has it been a tough change, especially for the staff that you have to now retrain?
Digitization in Maruti, I'll speak about my OEMs. Like we started digitization just before COVID, and it was for sales and service both. And actually, this has helped a lot. The customer who makes an inquiry, who wants to get the services done or wants to buy a car, it's all through hyperlocal system. So the nearest dealer gets the detail of that, and immediately we get into touch with that customer. So this has actually helped a lot. Post-COVID, the flow of the customer in the sales, in the showroom has also dropped to a large extent. So the sale, what is happening is through digitization. The service also is mainly through that only. So that in that case, the customer has made the complete analysis, what he has to buy, what is the cost, what is the comparison with the other model or other competition. So when he comes, he knows everything.
So what you're saying is the digitization, it's easier. So everybody is now very, very comfortable using a mobile, using apps. So your staff also today, they are extremely, so there is nothing, probably it's not very difficult to get your staff also to get onboarded on that process. And with Maruti and help of OEMs, you had such a robust system of addressing a customer's need. So that enhances what experience we are giving to the consumer in that.
So in the digitalization, Mahindra also is doing a digitalization since 2018. We are giving the customer live recording of their vehicle, what vehicle is doing and where is on which stage it is. But it is like you have to sitting in the home and seeing the TV or mobile. It's not worth. But when you go to the doorstep, he can actually practically watch the car how is repairing. So he has to build a confidence on that. How he can get his vehicle faster, and he can learn the things what he can't learn from the watching the online.
Online, yeah.
That's right.
It's interesting. You say that that the consumer and everybody is very used to this whole digital experience, but work from home also has made consumers so happy to sit at home. They're not used to going out. I mean, before you were going to office, so you said, "Chalo, I will send my car for service. I'm going to office." And now people expect a lot more things to come home. So is that what you're finding with automotive consumers also?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably all the consumer today would want, he would not want to step out unnecessary. So that psyche has come into a consumer. If you can get something at your doorstep on your phone screen, why to step out? So
I think the data is very freely available for everyone. So be it a consumer or any person who is wanting to get his car serviced, so he would just hop onto any of the websites. He would just go on and compare the prices if he wants to buy a car, and the services that are available in his area, and everything would be very seamlessly done by the customer sitting at home. There is no physical need to go and buy to get his car serviced. So end of the day, I mean, this is the changing times we're heading towards, and we can see it in our dealerships as well.
So a lot of you have spoken about how the OEM has set up this whole digital experience, and then, as dealers, you're following through. But do you think that there is an add-on value of digital that maybe the OEM has a large ecosystem, but I'm sure that there are some nuances that are very particular to each area and region because customers are different everywhere. Do you think that there is some area where the dealer needs to step in and add to this digital experience? And have there been any key changes that you've had to personally make as well in this whole experience in your area of domain?
I think maybe just catering to the customers, local customers, in a way that, for me, coming from West Bengal, there could be a language barrier as well.
Okay.
So then there would be additional calls being made from us, and just to understand it better, a call being done from the OEM would be in the nationally accepted languages. So just to get the the demand and the inquiry right, there could be calls from our end to understand the customer needs better, and then cater to them as per the needs they're looking at.
What are the type of services that you think that consumers want? Now, this changing consumer that we're talking about, what are the services he's now demanding more at home?
So services like running repair, means minor works like if he wants to top up the oil, or periodic maintenance, that changing of oil filter, diesel filter. Typically this type of services take time 90 minutes to service this vehicle at workshop. So he can get this vehicle within 90 minutes, or if he wants to, let's say anybody wants to travel intercity, before that traveling to intercity, he can check the vehicle whether it is fair enough to run that much mileage, or flat tires and etc. And value-added services also are there.
So with social media, I think you said 90 minutes, and I'm just thinking that, people with social media, everything's become so immediate. Everything is so short-timed. Do you find that the consumers also now demanding more things in a shorter time? And because of this service at home, has that changed also the service in the showroom and in the workshop? Has it become a more efficient and more digitized process even in the showroom? Has that efficiency changed overall?
It will change in the long run. In short term, it will not change, because still the customers are believing that the vehicle should repair in the service station or workshop only, because they feel that specialized doctor should be in the you can
Correct.
visit to the clinic, not at the home. So it's similar.
But are you bringing down the times even like in your...
So by and large, with the help of so many digital tools, so you have VTSs. So every stage is monitored. So you know what stage, how many minutes the vehicle goes through, and that invariably has built in a lot of efficiency in every process. And I think that has resulted in a consumer spending less time in your setup. So the moment you go into a setup, there's a lead time in which a job card would get open. So now with all the RFIDs and all that, so you can know, track the vehicle. So that digitization has really helped improve the productivity.
Yeah. And has it also helped you in some ways to actually make a dealership more cost efficient? Because that has been key in these hard and challenging times, to actually make your dealership more cost efficient, because the pandemic hit everybody hard. So has this digitization and the fact that all these changes have come into place, what are the changes that you've made to actually make your dealerships more efficient and more consumer friendly?
We try to capture more of a, less revenue vehicle. We give certain targets to our team, and we try to capture those vehicles like free service, which doesn't give much of the revenue, and we try to capture some percentage, like 40% of the vehicle should be serviced at home. So we have a place in a city which is already loaded with the cars, and so we try to capture those vehicles at home. Okay. And then it comes to paid service, and then we give, if we see that some major requirement is there, then we request the customer that we can pick your vehicle and we can drop it after doing such work. But normally, this has added in paid service. I have calculated a revenue of around 4,000 to 4,500 per vehicle comes in a paid service, where we do 4 vehicles in a day with one van, service van. So that comes to around 16,000. And in a month you can calculate, so approximately 4.5 lakhs rupees is a revenue, and which is fair enough.
Yeah.
So it's a running workshop altogether, which gives added revenue and added load to the workshop.
Will this in the long run help you to actually minimize space used, because rentals are a large part of the costs of a dealership?
Yeah, typically if we run the doorstep service, it will help you by reducing, if we are utilizing one service van, so it will help you reduce 2.5 bays. 2.5 bays means 1 bay actually productive bays, and 1.5 bay for the parking, the waiting period for the customer. He has to come and he has to pay, and closing all the deals. Then you can efficiently use this type of work. So rightly said, we can use for major work more in the workshop, and for little work we can go for doorstep.
I think, probably the space will not get reduced, service space. What, by doing this car on, by doing the service at home, what we are technically catering to is a consumer who would otherwise slip to a lot of competitive edge. Right. And there is a huge, cars which are still not coming to dealer workshops.
Right.
So there the potential is still very high. So, eventually it is, in foreseeable future, I don't see your workshop space going down. On the other hand, I am thinking that you would, because the sheer number of cars which you are adding on the road, I think we would still need to, look at another 3 years, adding a similar kind of base.
So we are, like you said, that the car park is increasing day by day. So we can avoid the future land space. We cannot reduce our existing setup, but future space we can avoid or manage in an efficient way, that we can try dip down some smaller workshop.
Additionally, I believe if we are catering to some of the cars that wouldn't otherwise have come to our workshop in the interiors and the deep markets, so we would in a way be addressing, making our existing brick and mortar setup more productive. Because those cars are being dealt otherwise, and then the cars which are coming, that could be rotated even more faster in the existing workshops.
So in essence, what you're saying is this whole future way of now addressing cars is actually going to bring those consumers that were actually going out and filtering into the smaller maybe service or roadside mechanic or whatever will actually trust dealership.
Even to test the markets, I mean, if there's a scope of expansion in one of the close by areas, we would be essentially wanting to see how the market is doing. So we would actually send a car there. We could see how many cars you're doing through the mobility vehicle, and then at the time when it is actually a proven market, then we could think of a like a brick and mortar setup being done.
It's interesting because it could allow you to have an main dealership and then have hubs.
Hub and spoke. Hub and spoke.
See,
largely, service at home is still, it is good for your regular repairs. Right, where that these running repairs, not running repairs, but periodic repairs.
Periodic,
but for any running repair, you can't foresee what a car would go
Yeah.
through. So you would still require workshops. There are 7,500 line items in the parts. So you can't carry all those parts.
I think a lot of cross-selling also happens. So what I see is if an advisor is going to customer's home, so there might be few pockets, other pockets a dealer has, like accessory selling, could be insurance add-on selling, could be warranty selling. So there are multiple things that he has to keep in his mind, and maybe getting his old car exchange is something that an advisor by himself he wouldn't be able to do it. But when the car is coming to the workshop, there are multiple interactions happening, there are different people's appointed, so he is dealing with multiple avenues and services that he could be wanting to get.
So it's been really insightful talking to you all, and unfortunately that's all we have time for today, but I think this has been very interesting. Times are evolving, they're changing, and I think it's only the consumer that benefits from all these changes that are coming from the dealers. Thank you for tuning in to us.